oftentimes, guys, they tend to justify having such a thing through the rules of jurisprudence and saying, just it's halal and therefore I can have one. But it's a sensitive issue because we often neglect this whole concept from a human perspective, that at the end of the day you already have someone in your life, and if they're already good to you, then why would you need to go to something else just because you can? So the question, I guess the question would be, why do guys have this? Why do the guys feel the need to go through this?
Well, long story short, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, I think it's to do with lust. I think it's that desire to have more than one partner.
Isn't one enough?
Yes.
I mean, the Prophet, he stayed married to Sayyidah Khadija for as long as she was alive, so why do we always insist on trying to have more than one?
But then somebody else can argue that he did have more than one wife at one time after.
Well, there's a reason why he only stayed with Sayyidah Khadija in that
So
time.
I guess it's about reasons. I guess it's about the situation and the circumstances that one is in. Polygamy, obviously, the country we live in, it's not looked at very highly or highly regarded, and I totally get it. I'll be honest with you, I don't quite understand how one man can have more than one wife, and purely because the wife you do have, and for whoever has girlfriends or partners or whatever, you've spent time to build a bond and a relationship with this woman. This takes time, takes energy, takes effort. Now you and if you've done it correctly, both of you have elevated yourself. You've grown as individuals, as people, as human beings. How could you do that again with another wife obviously legally, even if you do marry according to jurisprudence or what have you? How can you do that? It doesn't fit in my mind. I think the only other reason the second or the third or fourth one come would be for lust reasons, really, because you just want to have more than one. And I'm being totally honest here. I don't understand all that time and effort that you've spent with your first wife or your actual wife, and you developed this really good bond and strengthened your relationship with her. You got to know her, she got to know you, and you're really good with each other and you understand each other. You think you can repeat that with another one 6 months or a year or 2-3 years down the road. Yeah, God forbid if something happens and you're no longer with your wife, or God forbid she's no longer in this life, and you have to get remarried. Yes, you can do it one by one. You can build that relationship again, because we human beings can adapt, in my opinion. You could do one by one, but having to do that, let's say maxing it out up to 4, I think only one you would actually like and enjoy the company of, that you want to go out with and watch that movie and whatever with and have dinner with. There are other 3. Maybe you like the second one as well because she's a brunette or whatever, but
I think a lot of this
it's just hard.
I think a lot of this comes back to male privilege, and just because I'm allowed to do it. And often when our culture and society allows us to go through this thing that guys can do what they want because the rules are there, then the woman comes and she'll ask, well, what about me? Why can't I have more than one? But I think if the guys were to actually understand what it means to be in a relationship properly, then this question isn't something that they would even consider asking. But you did say something, generally speaking, I totally agree with you. I wouldn't see myself with more than one person. And I just... I don't
think it's emotionally doable. Physically, of course, it's doable, but not emotionally. And sorry to cut you off.
I mean, no worries. I just think about having a relationship, and I think, yes, the temptations would still be there, but at the end of the day, you have that someone to go back home to, and all your needs will be met, and you meet their needs. So why do you feel the need to go out and do something just because it's halal? But with that being said, we do have an unfortunate issue with having a society where there's many divorced women, and in some cases widows. What do we do when these women can't find another husband?
Wait, sorry, you're saying so women are complaining that we want another husband? Sorry,
No.
I didn't get that.
No, I'm saying, generally speaking, I totally agree with you, and I wouldn't see myself with more than one person.
Sure.
But what do you do in the case when there are divorced women and possibly women who are widowed and they can't find anyone else? Is it then a responsibility for a man who's already married to take them on?
What are you saying? I mean, look, the responsibility, this is where community ties come in, I think, and the society you live in, and your family and your relatives. Obviously, if somebody, like for example, somebody's down and out, got fired or what have you, back in the day, families used to come in, and help that person out, get them back up on their feet. And if, God forbid, someone's husband has passed away, God forbid, or someone's marriage has fallen apart and they've gotten divorced, like you said, is it the responsibility of a married person or a divorced person himself or man to marry them? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I don't think it's their responsibility, but that may connect them to each other because they've both perhaps gone through something similar and they have something in common which may help them build a bond. But I don't think it's the responsibility of that person. I think any single person. Now, I'm almost going back on how I used to think back in the day, but now because I'm more mature than I was before. It's any person, even if you're single, if you've never married before, if you see akhlaq in an individual, a woman, if you see just the righteous stuff in her, and yeah, you have to be attracted to her to some extent. Doesn't matter if she's divorced, and doesn't matter if she's a widow. I think you should go for it. And I think, isn't it true that if you marry a widow, it's actually thawab? It's actually it's highly recommended to marry. I don't know if it's highly recommended, but it's looked very highly in the eyes of God if you do marry a widow.
You know, it's because you're providing a source of help, comfort, shelter for someone who's very vulnerable. And in fact, the Holy Prophet, after Lady Khadija salamullah alayha, many of his wives were the wives of martyrs, shuhada, who had no one to go back to, who had no source of income. So the Holy Prophet would take them into marriage, not because of, God forbid, lust or anything, but rather to provide a shelter. Because in those days, women wouldn't live alone. As soon as the husband would die, they would find another husband because it was normal to have a husband.
Sure.
It wasn't
you needed a man to help and support you, especially back in the day.
Especially, nowadays, it's I can live alone. I don't need him.
Of course.
I'm an independent woman. But it wasn't like that in the time of the Prophet. So they would regularly marry. As soon as the husband would die, they would, as soon as they could, they would marry again.
Was it easy for them to find a husband though back then?
I'm not sure.
Because right now people are having mad issues, man. I'm telling you.
I guess
it's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's really
most
sad.
Most of their husbands already had wives, so they were. I guess there wasn't a problem. For them
so they would be like the second wife and stuff. Okay. See, this is where that clause does make sense, where you can have more than one. But I think it's more suited back then. Again, I don't want to come off as this, I'm saying something controversial.
Times have changed, just because something is allowed, do we need to do it? Should we do it? It doesn't mean because it's allowed we have to do it. Is it wajib? Wajib to do it?
The problem I have is, how the heck can you, in 2017, afford a second wife? Do you get what I mean though? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Yeah.
Exactly. My point is, I think most Muslim men want 4 wives when they're single.
Because it's cool. Okay, when they're single, yeah.
But when they get married to the first one, they realize how difficult the job is.
They're like, please, no.
I think one's enough.
None of this stuff.
But then you still got some guys who, they're still immature deep down and they kind of still have that player mentality of, I'm going to still get me some more,
Yeah.
And going back to the whole thing of divorced women, I'm not, I was asking as a question, I wasn't saying that we should, married men should go out and find their way to get divorced women, but it's definitely unfortunate that we do live in this community where there are so many divorced women.
Yeah.
In most cases, it's viewed as you did something wrong. It was all your fault. You're no longer a virgin, and that means you're no longer pure. I mean, honestly, I hate it when people use this. Use innocence to define virginity. Yes, there is, if that person, if there are 2 couples and they both have that, then yes, it can be a beautiful experience sharing that for the first time. But to equate virginity and innocence is something which I've always had a problem with.
That's a cultural problem. That's an upbringing problem. I totally get you, because there's quite a few people that have that mentality still. It's a tough one, because if you're a divorced woman, you have the stigma attached to you. They're like, people say, oh, they come with baggage, and I don't want to deal with that. I want somebody who's fresh. You know what I mean? Basically, it's really tough. It's tough in this day and age just to get married, period. I mean, all you have to do is look around your community. You look at all these women that are still single, never been married before. Men as well. Men are growing older and older day by day. Women are just continuing their studies. They got their PhDs now. They're 30-something, never been married because they can't find the right one. Now, there's circumstances. Some of the times it is their fault. They've come to a realization way too late. But we as a community need to tackle this. I think the leaders of our community need to tackle this. We as individuals need to tackle this because we need to take ownership. We need to wise up. I was just thinking of one thing. Who actually marries now more than one? And without mentioning a certain race, whoever these people are, they're loaded. Okay, they have millions. They got so much money, and I think that's what allows them to get married and do whatever they want. Whether they're being abusive or actually being kind to these women, I don't know. But a normal, average Joe, or average Ali, or average, whoever, cannot in this day and age get married to more than one. Should not, and shouldn't even be thinking like that. They should just work on their own relationship with their wife. If they're single, they should find the right person, as we've outlined. Not that we're scholars or anything, but this is just from our understanding.
I think the bottom line is, it's not haram. We're not putting a fatwa on anyone who's thinking out there to, maximize the potential. It's not haram, but can you do it? Is it practical? Will it ruin your previous marriage? Do you want to take that risk?
Exactly, and I think there's conditions. We forgot that there's actually conditions to getting married again. The religion itself hasn't just said, oh yeah, pick 4 and go get married. No, there's certain criteria that you have to meet. You're not going to get that hur from, what's a hur in English, man?
I don't know, what's a hur in
English? What's a hur in English?
I've just lost
I don't want to say
heavenly wife?
Okay, I'll go with that. Well, you're not going to get that perfect person being delivered to you on a silver platter. Yeah. Life doesn't work that way. Own up, be smart about it, be wise about it. You have the intellect. God's put you in that position.
In this day and age, there's no need for it.
There's no need for?
In 99.9% of the cases.
Polygamy, yeah, exactly. There's no need for it. I absolutely don't understand.
Unless, like I said, the reason I'm saying it's not haram, someone may want to help a divorcee. Someone may want to help someone who has lots of kids, and maybe not in England. England, maybe you can find other ways of financial income. But in countries,
I totally agree with them.
War-torn countries, Eastern countries,
villages,
third world countries,
exactly.
Less economically developed countries. It may be, you may get sawab for marrying the second one.
It makes sense. No, there's nothing funny there, really. Because let's take these villages, yeah? Let's say there was 2 sisters who married 2 brothers, and that's common. It's called a watta satta. Yeah. I'm sure some of the audience is going to enjoy that, who understood what I just said.
It's a very Punjabi thing.
It's a very Punjabi thing. And so unfortunately, circumstances was that perhaps one of the brothers passed away. Now, what happens in the culture is that sister, that widow now, who's married to the guy's brother, that guy now marries her as well. That's a common thing in villagey areas, third world countries. Over here, no, it just doesn't make sense here anymore. It just doesn't work anymore. You are free, you're an independent woman. Unfortunately, something fell, this trial you have to endure, unfortunately, but you're independent, you can do what you want. Anyway.
We can talk about this all night.
Oh yeah.
We've run out of time.
I'm sure we can.
So long story short, don't do it. But until next time, guys.